1. Introduction. My name is Serena. I was 24 years old and I needed to find work. I left my small town and moved to the big city. The city was busy and exciting, but it was also a little lonely. I spent my days looking for a good job. I looked through many advertisements in the newspapers and online. I wanted a job that was stable. One morning, I saw an ad for a nanny position. The ad said the house was very large and in a wealthy part of the city. The pay was good, and I really needed the money. I decided to call the number to ask for an interview. A few days later, I stood in front of the house. It was grand, with a beautiful garden and a tall, dark wooden door. I felt a little nervous. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. A man opened the door. He was tall, with dark hair and very serious eyes. He was also very handsome. He introduced himself as Don. His voice was low and calm. He invited me inside. The house was quiet and very clean. Everything looked perfect and expensive. We sat in a large living room. Don explained that he needed a nanny for his young son. He said he worked a lot and needed someone he could trust. Just then, a little boy walked slowly into the room. He had the same dark hair as his father. He was shy and did not say anything. This was Liam. Don was clearly a rich man, but he did not seem happy. There was a deep sadness in him that I could feel right away. The house was beautiful, but it felt empty, like a museum. Later, I learned the reason for this sadness. Don's wife had passed away 2 years before. He was raising Liam by himself. This explained the quiet sadness in the house and in Don's eyes. He did not smile. I told myself to be professional. This was my job. I was here to take care of Liam. I was not here to worry about my employer, but it was hard to ignore the feeling I had. Sometimes, when I was playing with Liam, I would feel Don watching me. When I looked up, our eyes would meet for a moment. In those moments, I felt a strange and strong connection. It was a confusing feeling. I tried to push it away and focus on my duties. I needed this job, but I had a feeling that working in this house for this sad, handsome man would change my life. 2. The house with secrets. My new life in Don's house began. The house was very big and beautiful. It had large windows, soft carpets, and expensive furniture in every room. Everything looked perfect, like a picture in a magazine. But it did not feel like a warm home. It often felt cold and too quiet. There were also many strict rules. Don gave me a list on my first day. One very important rule was about his study. The door to his study was always closed. He told me I was not allowed to go inside, ever. Another rule was about his work. I could not ask any questions about his business. This was strange, but he was my employer, so I agreed and focused on taking care of Liam. Soon, I learned about Evelyn. She was a woman who visited the house often, about 2 or 3 times a week. She always wore expensive clothes and her hair was perfect. When we met, she told me, "I am a close family friend." She smiled when she said it, but her smile never seemed real. It did not reach her eyes. I did not trust her. When she was with Don, she was very friendly. But when she looked at me, her eyes were cold. I felt that she did not want me there. Liam did not seem to like her much either. He was always very quiet when she visited. One evening, after Liam was asleep, I was walking down the long, silent hallway. As I passed Don's study, I heard voices from inside. The heavy wooden door was not completely closed. I heard Evelyn's voice first. It was sharp and serious. I stopped walking. I knew it was wrong to listen, but my feet would not move. "You must think about the future, Don," Evelyn said. "You know what your father's will says. You need to remarry soon. The deadline is getting closer." I held my breath. Remarry? A will? What did she mean by a deadline? I tried to hear Don's answer, but his voice was too low and tired. My heart started to beat very fast. A cold feeling was in my stomach. Was Don planning to marry Evelyn? Was their relationship about business? The conversation was about money and a deal, not about love. The beautiful house suddenly felt like a place full of dark secrets. I quickly and quietly walked away from the door. I did not want them to see me. I went to my room, but I could not sleep that night. I needed to understand the truth. 3. The first spark. One evening, a bad storm started. The wind was very loud and the rain hit the windows hard. I was playing a game with Liam in the living room when, suddenly, the house went completely dark. All the lights were out. Liam made a scared noise and grabbed my hand. I told him that everything was okay and that the storm just turned off the power. I found some candles in a kitchen drawer and lit them. The room filled with a soft, warm light. The gentle flames made the large room feel cozy and safe. Liam was not as scared anymore. He watched the dancing candlelight with wide eyes. A few minutes later, Don came into the room. "Is everyone all right?" he asked. I told him we were fine. He saw that Liam was still a little nervous, so he sat down on the floor with us. He looked different in the soft light. His face was not so serious. He started to tell Liam a story about when he was a boy and was also afraid of storms. Then he told a funny story about a silly animal. Liam started to laugh, and then Don laughed too. It was the first time I ever saw him truly smile. His smile was warm, and it changed his whole face. He was not just my serious boss at that moment. He was a kind father. My heart felt full and confused. I watched him and forgot about the secrets I heard. Later, Liam fell asleep on the sofa. I carried him to his bed and made sure he was comfortable. When I came back downstairs, Don was in the kitchen. He was putting some of the toys away. "Thank you, Serena," he said. His voice was quiet. I started to clear the table. He came to help me. We worked together without speaking. I reached for a cup at the same time he did. Our hands touched for only a second. I felt a sudden jolt, like a small electric spark. It was a strong and surprising feeling. I pulled my hand away very fast. My heart started to beat quickly. I looked up at him, and he was looking right at me. I did not know what to say. I had to remember my place in this house. This was my job. He was my employer. I looked down at the floor, my face feeling warm. The silence in the dark house felt very loud. 4. Evelyn's warning. The next week, Dawn was away on a business trip for 2 days. I was playing with Liam in the large living room. We were building a tall tower with his blocks. Suddenly, I heard a car outside. I looked through the window and saw Evelyn getting out of her expensive car. I was surprised. She never visited when Dawn was not here. She came inside without knocking. She looked around the room and then her eyes stopped on me. "Serena, we need to talk. Alone," she said. Her voice was sharp and cold. I told Liam to go to his room and play for a little while. He did not want to, but he saw the serious look on my face. When Liam was gone, Evelyn walked closer to me. "I want to make something very clear," she said, looking me directly in the eye. "You are just the nanny. Your job is to take care of the boy. That is all." I felt my face get warm. I did not know what to say. "Don is a very important man," she continued. "His business is his life. He needs a wife who can support him, a wife who understands his world. He needs a partner, not a simple girl like you who plays with toys on the floor." Her words were cruel. Each one was designed to hurt me, and they did. I felt small and stupid. I thought about the night of the storm when his hand touched mine. Was I a fool to think it meant something? After she said these things, Evelyn turned and left the house. She did not say goodbye. I sat on the sofa for a long time. My mind was full of her words. Maybe she was right. I was only the nanny. The thought of leaving this house was painful. I would miss Liam so much. But I could not stay in a place where I felt so unwelcome. I decided I had to quit. When Dawn returned the next evening, I waited for him to put Liam to bed. Then I went to find him. He was in the kitchen making a cup of tea. "Dawn, I need to talk to you," I said. My voice was shaking a little. He turned to look at me. "What is it, Serena?" "I think I should leave," I said, looking at the floor. "I am going to quit my job." He was quiet for a moment. "This is about Evelyn, isn't it? She came here when I was away." I nodded, still not looking at him. He took a step closer. His voice was very calm, but it was strong. "Listen to me. Evelyn does not control my life. She does not make my decisions. I do." I finally looked up at him. His face was serious, but something in his eyes had changed. They were not the eyes of my sad, distant boss. They were soft and full of an expression I did not understand. In that moment, the thought of quitting disappeared from my mind. I knew I had to stay. 5. The contract. A few days after my talk with Don, his housekeeper told me he wanted to see me. My heart started to beat fast. He wanted me to come to his study. This was the one room in the house that was always closed. I was nervous when I walked to the door and knocked. "Come in," Don said. I opened the door slowly. He was standing by the window, looking out at the garden. He looked serious and a little tired. He asked me to sit down. The chair was big and made of dark leather. I felt very small in it. Don turned from the window and looked at me. "Serena, I need to tell you something important," he said. "It is about my father's will." I listened quietly. I remembered the conversation I heard between him and Evelyn. "My father's will has a special rule," Don continued. "I will get my full inheritance only if I am married, and I must be married before my 35th birthday." He stopped for a moment. "My birthday is in 3 months. 3 months." It was not a long time. I understood his problem now. "I do not trust the people around me," he said. His voice was low. "Evelyn wants to marry me for my business. Other people just want my money. I cannot have a wife like that. Liam needs a good person in his life." He walked closer to his desk and looked directly at me. His eyes were clear and honest. "Serena, I want you to marry me." The words were a complete shock. I could not speak. Was he serious? It did not feel real. He saw the surprise on my face. "It will not be a real marriage," he explained quickly. "It will be a contract, a business agreement. There will be no love or feelings involved. After 1 year, we can end it. You will be free, and I will give you enough money to live a comfortable life." He was offering me a solution, a deal. My mind said it was a crazy idea, but my heart felt something different. I thought about Liam, and I thought about the kind man I saw during the storm. I already cared about them. I looked at Don and made my decision. "Yes," I said softly, "I will do it." He looked relieved. For him, it was a problem solved. For me, it was the start of a secret. I agreed to a marriage with no feelings, but my heart was already full of them. 6. The wedding scandal. Our wedding was very small and quiet. There were only 2 witnesses there with us. I wore a simple white dress, and Don wore a dark suit. We stood in a small, official room and said our words. It did not feel like a real wedding because it was a business deal. I kept telling myself it was only a contract. But when Don put the gold ring on my finger, my hand was shaking. I looked at him, and for 1 second, I forgot about everything else. The next morning, our quiet wedding was not a secret anymore. It was everywhere. Our names were on the front page of every newspaper in the city. The headlines were big and loud. They called me the nanny who married the millionaire. My picture was next to the words. It was an old photo, and I looked so young. The articles were not kind. They said I was a clever girl who only wanted Don's money. I knew Evelyn was the reason for these stories. She talked to reporters and told them terrible things. She used the name Gold Digger to describe me. This word made me feel sick. It meant I did not love Don and only cared about his wealth. Evelyn told people I planned everything from my first day in the house. Her lies felt like stones hitting me. Soon, letters started to arrive. They were not from friends. They were from strangers who read the newspapers. The letters were full of angry words. People said I was a bad woman. They told me to leave Don and his son alone. Every night, I went to my room and cried. I tried to be quiet so no one could hear me. I was now Don's wife, but I felt more alone than ever. One evening, Don came into the library and found me with tears on my face. I tried to hide, but it was too late. He sat down next to me on the sofa. He was quiet for a minute. Then he said, "Serena, look at me." His voice was soft. "I do not care what they say. I know who you are. You are a kind and good person. That is the only thing that is important." His words stayed in my heart. Our marriage was a contract, but his kindness started to change everything. It started to feel real. 7. The truth about love. One evening, I was reading a book in the living room when I heard the front door open. It was Don. He came home very late from the office. He looked exhausted from a long day, but a real, warm smile appeared on his face when he saw me. He walked towards me, his steps slow but sure. "This house feels different now," he said, his voice quiet. "Before you arrived, it was just a big, empty space. It was so quiet and sad." He paused, looking around the room. "Now I hear laughter. Liam is so happy. The whole house feels warm and full of life." He looked directly into my eyes. "You did this, Serena. You have changed everything, and you have changed me." My heart started to beat faster. Before I could find any words, he gently put his hands on my cheeks and leaned in to kiss me. This kiss was completely different. It was not part of our contract. It was slow, gentle, and full of honest feeling. In that single moment, all the bad words from the newspapers and Evelyn's warnings disappeared from my mind. I felt completely safe in his arms. I felt like I was finally home. This was not a business deal. This was real. This was where I belonged. A few days after that night, we were sitting together on the sofa. Liam was asleep upstairs. The house was peaceful. Don took my hand and held it. "Serena, I need to be honest with you," he started. His expression was very serious. "My father's will and the inheritance. It is not important to me anymore. I thought I needed that money for the company and for Liam's future. I was wrong." He squeezed my hand gently. "The only thing I need is you. I love you, Serena. Being with you and Liam is the only thing that matters." Tears came to my eyes, but they were happy tears. "I love you too, Don," I said. The words were simple, but they held all of my feelings. The following week, Evelyn tried to arrange a business meeting with Don. He refused. He spoke to her on the phone and was very firm. He told her that he did not want her influence in his business or his personal life. He explained that his family was me and Liam now. We heard she was very angry, but there was nothing she could do. After that call, Evelyn was gone from our lives forever. A heavy weight was gone, and our future felt bright and clear. 8, our real beginning. A year passed very quickly. Our large house was no longer a quiet, sad place. Now it was always full of laughter and bright light. Don smiled much more often. His serious face was gone, and his eyes were always warm when he looked at me. Liam was a happy, energetic 7-year-old boy who loved to play outside. Our new life together was simple and good. We were a real family. The old contract we signed felt like a story from a different life. It was a strange way to start our relationship, but it brought us to this happy place. We found our happiness in a very unusual way, and I was thankful for it every day. One sunny Saturday afternoon, I was in the garden with Liam. We were planting new flowers next to the stone path. His small hands were covered in dark soil, and he had a little on his nose. He looked up at me with his big, serious eyes, which were exactly like his father's. He pointed to a bright red flower we just put in the ground. "Look, Mom," he said quietly. "It's so pretty." The word hung in the air between us. Mom. He had never called me that before. My heart felt like it stopped for a second, and then it filled with so much warmth it almost hurt. I knelt and hugged him tightly, not wanting to let go. Tears came to my eyes, but they were happy tears. In that simple moment, I knew I was truly his mother and part of this family forever. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. When I told Don later that evening, he held my hand and smiled. "Then let's make it official," he said. "Let's do it right." A few weeks later, we had another wedding. This time, it was not a small, secret meeting. It was not a business deal. We invited our close friends and the few family members we trusted. The sun was shining in the garden, and everyone was smiling and happy for us. I wore a beautiful white dress, and Don looked at me with so much love in his eyes. When we said our promises to each other, they were real. They came from our hearts. There was no contract, only pure love. This was our real beginning, a celebration of the family we had become. My life changed so much in a short time. I came to this big house as a young woman who only wanted a job. I was just the nanny. Now I was Don's wife, but I was more than that. I was his partner in life and his best friend. We talked about everything, from Liam's school projects to Don's new business ideas. He valued my thoughts. We were a team. People in the city sometimes still talk about our story. They remember the newspaper articles and the scandal. But their words don't hurt me anymore. I don't care what strangers think because I know the truth. Every night, I fall asleep safe in the arms of the man I love. And I know our story is not about money or contracts. It is a true story about love.